Oh my word. This, you guys, the Chase Bliss Gravitas Tremolo. This is my first Chase Bliss pedal, and I knew they were good. People I respect have them on their boards, but I recently sort of had the epiphany that I want to do mostly analog modulation effects. The reason for that is when something's digital, it's fine. I have nothing against digital. I've tried even like some digital overdrives that I like. However, the more pure and more analog your signal can stay within its, life force between your guitar and your amp, in general, the better it kind of feels under the fingers and the better it speaks to your soul. And I tried actually this analog chorus, which sort of opened my eyes to oh man, I actually like chorus when it sounds really good. And so I thought, well, let's get an analog tremolo as well. And in researching a little bit, it was like, hey, the Chase Bliss is kind of like the one. And a lot of people are scared of dip switches and stuff like that. I'm not scared of dip switches. I like crazy options and things like that. And these Chase Bliss pedals just have so many options. This is a digitally controlled, fully analog pedal. Nothing ever gets converted to ones and zeros and then back in the context of this pedal. It is fully analog, controlled digitally. So you have a lot of options to control the analog stuff that's going on. Also, I should caveat, I am not going to even touch the options, endless options that are available on this pedal. But I will go into a few of them. First off, before we get into the controls, I just have to say, the moment I plugged this in, I was just I closed my eyes, and it was just yes, this is what, I don't know why or how, turning something up and down in a different way can have such an amazing vibe. But this thing does. It is just right out of the box. It is amazing. And if you take a minute to kind of read the instructions and learn what these controls are doing, it is very powerful, and you can really sculpt it to sound however you want. So, first off, going to go through these controls. Left to right, top to bottom. Here we go. So on the top left here, we have drive or ramp. This is essentially your overall volume setting. Going to get to that in a minute. Then next to it, we have volume. In the instructions, they said this should almost always be dimed unless you're using a second tremolo, which we're just not even going to go into that. But they said it should always be dimed, so I just dimed it. To the right of that, we have our tone control. And then down here, we have rate. To the right of that, we've got depth and sway. And then below that, we have basically our shape on the front half of the tremolo wave here. We can select between sine wave, triangle, or square. And then on the second half of the modulating wave, you can select a different one on either half. To the left of that, we've got this other switch here. When you're in the standard mode, this switch over here will switch between basically quarter notes, eighth notes, and 16th notes when you tap the tremolo, which your tap is down here. So if I play a little bit, turn this thing on, and I tap, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to be my quarter note. And then I go times 2, so that's eighth note. And then 4 times 4, 16th note. But if you go to the top here and switch this mode dip switch down, which I'm going to do, then this becomes a tremolo mode switch, which is to the left is standard tremolo. To the right is harmonic tremolo. And then in the middle is both. Which I absolutely love. And then lastly, down here, this is a little preset switch. you can save 2 presets, left and right, delineated by green and red there. And then if you're in the middle, then whatever the controls are on the pedal itself, that's what you're hearing. So that's the controls on the pedal itself. I saved a preset earlier to the left here. And then I saved another one to the right. So really quickly, this drive knob I'm using, and it's kind of the standard right out of the box usage of it, is when you use a tremolo, if you think about it, a tremolo is turning something up and down, right? If you average, turning something up and down versus, just dry, which is like, or the overall volume technically, would be like half when I'm turning it up and down all the way, especially if I have a high depth on my mix here. The perception can be that it's quieter when you turn on your tremolo. And so that's what this drive, which is really more like a boost. It doesn't really have overdrive in it. It's just a fully clean volume boost. So turn that up to kind of compensate for the perceived volume drop when you turn on a tremolo. So I really like that. Super powerful. You can really crank it. It's... That's just my amp overdriving, because my amp doesn't have a ton of headroom. It's already breaking up a little bit. And so pushing a bunch of volume into it, you can get crazy tones like that. I mean, imagine saving that as a preset. Basically, you have a boosted tremolo crazy sound. Then, so this volume, this tone here is really interesting, especially when you use it with the harmonic tremolo mode. So if we go into, I've got this mode switch down, so I'm switching to, this is harmonic tremolo. So harmonic tremolo modulates the upper frequencies, like the high frequencies, and the low frequencies alternating to each other, whereas a normal tremolo modulates all frequencies together, so it goes ha, 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 ha. A harmonic tremolo modulates the high frequencies up when the low frequencies are down, the low frequencies up when the high frequencies are down. So it has kind of this wow, 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 wow effect, and when you turn this tone knob up, it's even more dramatic. So you can hear that modulating those upper frequencies and lower frequencies together or separately. Versus. And then what I loved was this both setting, because it has a flavor of that harmonic tremolo, but with the more dramatic sort of standard tremolo sound. I just love that. That is my favorite. Both of my presets are with that both setting. So then this little Modu-Shape engine here. Okay, let's talk about this really briefly. When something's being modulated, it's being modulated up and it's being modulated down in volume, right? Basically, you can set the shape of that modulating wave. You can set the front of it, and you can set the back of it, and you can set how quickly basically it transitions from the front to the back. So with this Modu-Shape little section here, I can choose, let's say I want the front half of my wave to be a sine wave. I'm gonna go to the left here. And the back half of my wave, I wanna be a square wave. So I'm gonna go to the left on this one. And then I'll just turn up the depth so it's sort of dramatic sounding here. So you can hear that is sort of gliding into the first part of the tremolo. That's that sine wave. It's like this smooth. And then once it gets to the last part, it cuts off dramatically, which is that square wave. Versus if I did the opposite thing, if I did a square wave at the front and a sine wave at the back. Now it's like it's modulating, very harshly at the front part and then gliding down at the last part. In addition to that, you can set basically the sway, that is the sort of distance between the front and the back half of the wave. I'm not sure if that's the best way to say it, but let me show you. So this is kind of like straight up and down is like they both have the same amount of emphasis in the tremolo. The square wave, let's say, and the sine wave. If I go, like, let's say all the way to the left, versus all the way to the right, it emphasizes the one part of the wave over the other. And so you can just really get tons of crazy combinations. I should also mention that this particular Gravitas has the chop mod, which makes the square wave setting even harsher. So if I go like square wave here, and then I turn my depth all the way up, it's extremely harsh, basically on, off, on, off, on, off. You can get that mod done for, I think, $40 or something like that. So in addition to all of these crazy options, this pedal can also be controlled by MIDI. They do this 1/4-inch MIDI thing where you go MIDI out of a, some kind of MIDI control box, switcher, something, to this little MIDI converter box that they make, and it converts it to 1/4-inch MIDI, and you come in here, and then that gives you actually access to, like, I don't know how many, 120? 122 presets via MIDI. So you can call up program changes on this pedal. Again, it's digitally controlled, so a MIDI message can pull up a preset, and it still remains all analog. It just controls the analog, settings here via digital control, which is amazing. In the future, this thing is like future-proof. I am hoping, in someday in the future to get some kind of MIDI switcher. I will have over 100 presets on this thing. And like I said, with this drive control, you could have one preset that's like really gnarly and with the drive like way up, and then one that's more standard, one harmonic. Insane amount of options. In addition, it will sync to MIDI beat clock. So if you have, some tracks going or a drum machine or something like that, it will sync up to that. And then this drive control via these dip switches on the back here, you can set this drive control to control some of these other knobs. So if you have certain dip switches down or up or whatever, this knob can actually control a bunch of different knobs. So if you want to control, your rate and, this shape and the drive and the volume, like with one knob, you can do that via these dip switches. It's like the sky is the limit with this pedal. They have thought of absolutely everything. Just whatever you think you want to do with a tremolo, you can do with this thing. But most importantly, really to me, it's just that it sounds so deliciously good. You can change so much stuff with it just right on forget about MIDI, put that aside. just with the knobs on the pedal and this sort of Modu-shape engine, you can really shape the sound of it and the shape of it and the feel of it. And adding in harmonic tremolo, it's like, forget it. Lights out, best tremolo pedal ever, anywhere. My favorite tremolo pedal, my favorite recent pedal. It got me so excited just listening to it. And that doesn't always happen with pedals. And this thing is just amazing. So very highly recommended. You must check it out. I'm excited to try out more stuff from Chase Bliss. This company is very unique and doing something really special and just beautiful. I love when a company just does not compromise like at all. I mean, do you see a compromise in this pedal? There is zero. They have added every possible thing you could imagine into this thing, and it just sounds gorgeous. It sounds absolutely beautiful. So I love it. Well done, Chase Bliss. That's going to be it from me today. Let me know if you have any questions down in the comments below. We'll see you all next time.